Well, welcome, Amy. It's so great to talk to you.
Hello, it's nice to see you again, Amanda.
You too. This has been just what a season, right? What a season that we've gone through. And so we are just so excited that you were able to do this set for us. We've been looking forward to it so much. And I've been watching little snippets of some of the things that you've done and some of the things that were recorded at Hope. And I'm just so excited to be able to see this set that you've done for us. So thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be with you ladies. I had so much fun the last time I was there. I know there was in the video we recorded of that show, I had written a whole bit about Marie Kondo. That was like the beginning of, do you remember? Like
Yes.
Everyone was throwing things out of their house, right? And I actually put that up online and people really enjoyed that, right? And then I thought about, what was happening now as I was walking through a thrift store the other day, and everybody's doing that again, but for another, like cleaning everything out of their house, right? We're back in that same. So.
Yes, and you talked about how hard it was to put on pants and go out, and
because
right,
it was freezing. Right when I was there, it was the polar vortex. I had never experienced that kind of cold before. My daughter and I, we left the show at your church, and we were so hungry, and we drove over to the Cheesecake Factory.
Okay.
And we sat in our car, and we were debating whether or not it was worth it to walk to the restaurant to eat, because it was so cold outside. That's what happened the last time I was there. So.
It was like -20 or something that night. It was ridiculous. It was cold, crazy cold, even for Iowa. It was crazy.
Which
cold.
is a testament to how much your ladies like to be together. They all came anyway.
Yes. Well, you take a bunch of Iowans in January, and we are just, so desperate for, something to be able to get out of our house, and even if we have to put on long underwear in the winter coats. So yeah.
Oh, and then we all had to stay home all summer, right? So.
Yes, right. Good thing we got out when we could. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. So I just want to kind of let people get to know you a little bit and see you a little bit differently, Amy. And one of the things that I love about your story is it's not like you went to college to be a comedian. It's not like, this was your number one plan originally, but here we are. But I think that people might be surprised to know that you were an engineer, like not like train, but like
an actual engineer. Yeah, that's what I went to college for. I'm in my mid-40s, and I feel like when I was growing up, it was that time period where, maybe it still is this way, I don't know, but if you were a girl and you were good at math, you were kind of letting all women down if you didn't get a STEM degree in college, Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I got an engineering degree, and I worked at an aerospace firm for a couple of years after college. It wasn't the right fit for me, I don't feel like. Yeah.
But I just think, so that feels to me though, like it's a big jump from working in the aerospace industry to making people laugh for a living. And so how did that happen?
Well, I never really felt like it was as big of a jump as other people seem to think it is. Maybe it's because you don't know there aren't a lot of funny engineers. I don't know. But to me, jokes have always been a lot like math problems. So you just have to look at them for a long time to figure out how to solve them, to resolve the setup, right?
Yeah.
But I had a friend who really wanted to try stand-up comedy by last year at college. It was his great dream to do it. And our university was offering like a stand-up class through the extension college. And so we signed up and we took this class, and the end of the class, you had to do a show at the local comedy club. And the manager of that comedy club said to me after that show, you kind of have a knack for this. If you come back on the weekends, I will give you some time so you can, try it out.
It was kind of like Miss Maisel, except for not in New York and not in the 50s. Have you seen Marvelous? Yeah.
Yeah, it was very accidental, and it was just sort of a hobby in the beginning. After I graduated from college, I went to work, had an engineering job, and I was just doing it on the side, and I started getting work, and to be fair, a lot of the opportunities I had were because I was one of the only female comedians in the Seattle area at the time. So people would come through and want a female opener, And so I would get that job. And so I got a lot of chances to really work it out and learn how to do it. And then I got to the point where I just had to decide between the two. You know, I had to pick, and I took a chance, and I
Yeah. Now, were you raised as a Christian, or was that something that you came to as an adult?
I was. My
Okay.
my parents are awesome. They were on staff with Campus Crusade for Christ when
Okay.
I was born. They were in ministry for several years. They left ministry to pursue other jobs later on, but have always like really laid such a great foundation for us growing up of what, not just what it meant to be a Christian, but really what it meant to walk by faith day by day. I think that was the greatest example that they gave to me, was the understanding of what Christianity meant, not just on Sunday, or, you know, not just in, you know, whatever program, you know, our youth group or something, but what it meant to open your Bible every morning and apply what you were learning to your daily life. So.
Yeah, I love that. And I was curious because I wanted to know if you went into comedy already knowing what you believed about Jesus, and how that influenced that decision for you. Because so this is kind of a funny story, but first time you were here, after the fact, after you were here and after we all realized that you were funny, there were people who came up to me afterwards and said, you know, I was really worried because you can either be a Christian comedian, or you can be funny, but you can't usually be both. And so, but you are. And so I'm curious about how your love for Jesus kind of influenced the decision you make, and how that ultimately ends up influencing how you do your comedy.
Well, I would say I am not as proud of my path there as I probably could be. After college, I went through a period in my life I can't describe any other way than just rebellion. You know,
you and me both.
I was really determined to make my own way the way I wanted it made, and just, you know, looked for ways to do what I wanted to do, and I wasn't really living the way God wanted me to. And especially when I first moved to LA, and, you know, I was not seeking his will for my life at all. But, you know, now the place that I'm at, it's such a testament to his faithfulness that he uses even those things, you know, to bring about something that he can use for his good. You know, I really believe that he does work in all things for our good. And so I hesitate to be too critical of people that start out in Christian comedy, you know, because I know that, you know, you go that direction. But I think the problem is not being a Christian who is a comedian. It's not allowing yourself to go through the tests of fire that, you know, someone like I had to go through to be able to work as a comedian. People outside of the church are harsh, you know, they judge you harshly. And a lot of times if people start doing comedy in the church, Christian people are lovely, and they do not want to tell you that you are not good at what you're trying to do, right? And so, you know, you can sometimes continue on down that path thinking you're really funny. And and I, you know, by no means think I am the greatest, funniest person to ever walk the face of the earth. But, you know, I had to stand up on comedy club stages and hear people tell me that, you know, nope, that was not good tonight. That was not good. And
just like that, I bet. Just like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Or get up and walk out. Like, you know, that's what happens in a real comedy show. You know, that would never happen in a church.
No.
Unless somebody was like, maybe I'm just going to the bathroom, you know, and they don't come back. But I've seen people in the middle of my show, you know, at a comedy club when I was starting out, they would just get up and that's it. You know, we call that walking the room, right? When they, yeah.
I love that. I love it. So clearly, as you've kind of evolved in your work and in your faith and as a woman, I know that for you, you clearly see making people laugh as the calling that God has placed on your life. And I think that I truly think that joy, especially in the world around us, and I think we're seeing, especially in the year that we've been through, I think joy is an act of rebellion. I think joy is kind of giving the devil the middle finger, frankly. But I want to know how you see that, and I want to know how, because some people might say, oh, well, you're telling jokes. What difference does that make? But I think that it does. But I want to hear you kind of talk about that a little bit.
Well, I hope that it does. First of all, right? I mean, there may be some day where God says, no, you're gonna sweep floors or something.
Sure,
but
sure.
For now, this is what I get to do. And to be honest, I think that that what makes comedy funny or work is when you're able to hit upon something that everyone has experienced or has in common. When which has been the most wonderful thing about like COVID, for example, because we're living in a world that is so divided right now over everything. And I mean, even small things like, when I started out doing comedy, there were network television stations, right? I mean, everybody pretty much watched the same thing on Thursday night, and then you could talk about it.
Friends and ER.
Right? I mean, we have, Netflix and Hulu and Apple TV, and there are shows that my friends watch that I've never even heard of, that I'm hearing of, right? We're just so divided in what has our attention. And so it's hard to find those things that bring us together. And so COVID, is one of those things that has done that. We're all experiencing that together in some way. And I think that is what makes comedy great, is when you can find those things that everyone has in common. And that is, in ministry and for women, what we need more than anything. It's to be able to sit in a room, where God has maybe called us to feel safe, to be transparent, to be vulnerable, to be authentic, so that he can work in our hearts and build relationships that help us grow. And that can happen when you look across the room and you say, oh, my teenage kid does this, and that lady's laughing too because her teenage kid does this. And maybe if we have that thing in common, and maybe the thing that I'm struggling with, that I haven't shared or that's really hurting in my life, maybe we have that in common too. And it makes us less judgmental. It makes us look more inward, at the things that, are our own shortcomings and not other people's. And I hope, that's always my hope, that when women have that experience together in a room, that they'll want to come back and be with those other women because they've walked through that together. Maybe let's walk through something bigger together. I hope.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. So we are recording this. We're going to launch this Friday on November 6th at 7:00. And so people have a chance to kind of watch this conversation, and then here in a little bit, by the wonders of the internet, then in a little bit, they'll watch the show that you did for us. Is there anything that you want to say or tease people with, and if not, that's fine. But I want to give you a chance before we sign off.
Oh, let's see. Well, we had a lot of fun recording this show at a church in Sandpoint, Idaho. If you all know where that is, maybe just kind of north of Coeur d'Alene in the north end of Idaho, with a beautiful group of women who were so excited to share this show with you. So they knew that this was being recorded for you all, and they are very excited to have been a part of that. And we had an opportunity to talk about everything that we're going through right now. We talked about baking and running out of stuff and COVID and pets and everything, but we did not talk about politics, so you don't have to worry about that.
Amen.
None of that on this video.
Yay.
But it was such a fun experience to just get to have this whole new conversation with these women, and I really hope that you all enjoy it, and I hope it sparks conversation well into the night with your women that you are gathered with, and I hope that you are just encouraged and that you have joy as a result.
Awesome. Well, I have no doubt. I can't wait. Well, Amy, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for taking time to do this conversation. We really appreciate it. We can't wait till you can make your way back to West Des Moines. Maybe we should do it in the summer sometime.
Yes.
Not January.
But no one will need to get out of the house then, right?
Well, we'll see. Maybe we can. We'll see.
Maybe January. I got a bigger coat. I'm more prepared now than last time.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Amy. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, ladies.
You bet.